It started like any other Sunday evening. I was sprawled on the couch, laptop warming my thighs, idly checking my email and social media. Work had been grating all week, and the quiet hum of the apartment felt comforting. My wife was in the kitchen, humming softly while rinsing dishes, the scent of lemon soap lingering in the air. The ordinary calm of the evening made it the perfect moment for distraction. I clicked through my usual accounts. Nothing out of place. Then on a whim, I typed her name into the search bar one last time. I had done this countless times before, just to make sure she hadn't posted something I'd missed, to scroll past vacation photos she knew I didn't care for, but couldn't resist peeking at. Today, though, something different popped up. A second account. Not one I had ever seen before. No friend connections, no tagged photos on my feed, nothing that indicated I should know it existed. The profile picture was a subtle, cropped image of her from a conference last year, the one she had posted to her public account. But even that was filtered in a way that almost hid her entirely. The handle was a mix of her initials and a number, generic enough to be innocent. But the fact it existed at all made my chest tighten ever so slightly. Curiosity, that quiet, insistent thing, pushed me to click. The first post loaded slowly. A photo of a hotel lobby, sunlight spilling across polished floors. She had written a short caption about a conference she attended last month. Nothing remarkable, nothing that raised alarms. Another photo followed, a snapshot of a cafe where she had stopped for coffee on a business trip. Another, a conference room with neatly arranged chairs. Even the captions seemed neutral, almost mundane. My first reaction was relief. There was nothing scandalous here. Just professional life, the parts of her I thought I knew. Then I scrolled down a little further. The comments began. At first they were normal. Generic congratulations, looks great, or nice view. But then one comment caught my attention. Familiar, not in the sense that I knew the person, but in tone. Playful, almost personal. Careful, don't let the hotel staff see how much fun you're having. I frowned. That wasn't strange in itself. Plenty of colleagues joke around, but something in the phrasing felt intimate. The emoji, the teasing, it didn't feel professional. I scrolled more, and the same user appeared again. Another post, a photo of her walking past a street mural during a work trip. Comment, nice shoes. Bet they're making all the locals jealous, wink wink. I blinked. Shoes? Locals? How would this person even know the shoes she was wearing unless they were paying attention to details only someone close would notice? The more I scrolled, the more frequent the comments became. Always the same person. Not too many words, just enough to suggest familiarity. Inside jokes. Observations that only someone who knew her routines or moods might make. I felt a quiet tightening in my chest. Something in me whispered caution. Curiosity was one thing, realization another. I kept scrolling, though, because the pattern was impossible to ignore. Photos from hotels, from conference rooms, even snapshots of the city from her window. And there he was, always there. Comments like, missing the morning coffee yet? Or did they finally serve that flat white you like? Careful, you might turn into a city tour guide with all these wanderings. Small, casual, yet intimate. Never overtly flirtatious, never sexual. But each one landed with a weight I couldn't shake. It wasn't meant for me. Not entirely. I tried to rationalize. Perhaps it was a close friend from work, a colleague from the conference, maybe a mentor with a sense of humor. I told myself these things. I wanted to believe them, but every comment had a tone of private knowledge, a familiarity she didn't exhibit in our conversations. I noticed patterns, references to hotels I didn't recognize, comments about flights she'd booked that I hadn't known of, even hints about her mood that she had never discussed with me. Little remarks like, looks like someone had a long meeting today, or bet that presentation left you exhausted. It was subtle, almost too subtle to pin down, but enough that my mind began to fill in the gaps. I remembered last month, a Friday evening, she had seemed unusually cheerful after returning from work. She had brushed off my question about her day with a tired smile, insisting it had been a normal day. But now I realized she had likely been texting him or exchanging messages somewhere I wasn't meant to see. Another evening, she had gone out for a work dinner, 2 hours longer than she said. I hadn't questioned it then. I had trusted her, as I always had. But now the picture became clearer. I sat back in the chair and let out a slow breath. I didn't feel anger at first. Not yet, just a quiet understanding. The kind that comes from realizing the foundation of familiarity has quietly shifted. The apartment felt unusually quiet. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the distant sounds of cars passing on the street, the faint smell of leftover coffee in the mug beside me. All of it became amplified, weighted. I imagined the comment notifications popping up while she was away, small digital nudges of a connection I wasn't part of. The idea of her reading them, smiling silently at something I wasn't meant to see, twisted something inside me. She emerged minutes later, toweling her hair, humming softly again. I didn't mention the account. I didn't raise my voice. I simply kept watching, observing the way she moved, the way she smiled at nothing in particular, the casual elegance with which she carried herself. I realized then that the betrayal, if it could even be called that, wasn't obvious in grand gestures. It was quiet, insistent, hidden, a digital echo in comments, a name I didn't know, a connection I had never anticipated. I left the laptop open on the table, the account still visible, the comments still scrolling like a soft whisper of truth. Sometimes, realization doesn't need confrontation. Sometimes it's enough to see the pattern, to understand the weight of what exists beyond what is said aloud. She glanced at the screen briefly, eyes flicking just slightly. She didn't recognize the account, or pretended not to. But I didn't need words. I didn't need explanations. I already knew enough. We sat in the quiet of the apartment, the hum of the city outside blending with the faint sound of water dripping from the shower. And I understood. Some relationships aren't broken by sudden, dramatic acts. They are reshaped by quiet absences, by private spaces, by the small ways two lives can diverge without ever raising alarms. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't storm out. I didn't ask for a confession. I simply let the knowledge settle between us like dust on the shelves. Visible if you look closely, unavoidable once you notice it, impossible to ignore. Somewhere in the scrolling feed, the same comments appeared again. Cheerful, intimate, familiar. Not cruel, not malicious, but deeply personal. Too personal for me to dismiss as harmless friendship. By morning, sunlight poured through the windows, illuminating the laptop screen. The account was still open, the comments still there, quietly marking the distance between us. And I realized that some truths, once discovered, do not need to be spoken aloud. They simply exist, shaping the way you see everything else. I poured myself a coffee, watching the steam curl in the morning light, my mind tracing back to all the small moments I hadn't understood. Every laugh, every shrug, every delayed reply suddenly gained a different weight. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't even know what I wanted to happen. But I knew the distance had already begun. It had started quietly, pixel by pixel, comment by comment, in a way no conversation could undo. Dear subscribers, if you have a story you believe is worth sharing, feel free to send it to us by email, storytimelounge320@gmail.com. We'll be happy to take a look, and it just might become the story featured in our next video.